Don't you hate it when you spend hours upon hours doing research into game lines, player props, home and away, injuries, matchups, reading articles, previews? Before you place your bets, thinking you've done all your due diligence, place your bets with confidence, and they fall flat on their face. Well, I hate that too. And I'll be honest with you, it's been happening to me a fair bit lately, so I'm switching it up today. We're not overthinking nothing. We're not reading too much into data. We're going with what feels right. And I'm talking about gut feel. Now, if that sounds interesting, let's go. So we got a 5-game slate of the WNBA today. If I research this the way I normally do, it'll probably be close to a 2-hour video. And I'm not doing that. So we're keeping it short. We're keeping it simple. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to keep it real with you. I'm going to do a light touch on the research. I'm going to give you my strong opinion and my gut feel. And I'm just going to roll with that. I'm not going to dive too deep into player props, all the numbers. When we compare teams, I'm not talking about how they defend, what they do, home and away records, previous form. I'm going to throw all that out the window. Because thankfully, I have watched quite a bit of WNBA this season, and I can just give you my uneducated opinion on how I think this is going to go. Believe it or not, me betting on the spread has been quite successful. I've made a lot of videos about player props because I do have the data to back it up, but a lot of these leans on and plays on the spread, they have been cashing quite well. So I'm going to keep it light. But let's go through it one by one. I'm not going to go through every player. I'm going to tell you what I think, and we're going to get the fuck out of here. If that sounds good, let's go. So this first game, early start in all these games, so I want to get these out to you as soon as I can. We're looking at the Liberty versus the Sun. The Liberty are favorites on this one. 2.5-point line on the road against Connecticut. Both teams 17-4. The best two teams in the East, some would say. And it ought to be a good match. 2.5 the line. I'll let you know right now. I'm betting the Liberty to cover 2.5 points. And why is that? Firstly, let's talk about the Sun for a second. Their record this season is great. They beat a lot of the teams that they should be beating. They do it all because of how great they are defensively, right? Best defensive team in the competition. Everybody knows that. Offensively, they're not that great. And they're up against the New York Liberty, who are one of the best offensive teams. And they're in the top 3 in terms of defense. They already beat the Connecticut Sun earlier this season. It was a home game. I'll give you that one. But I think even on the road, the Liberty, if you look at the games that they've lost games with teams have really outscored them. And that's a pretty stupid and basic thing to say. But what I mean by outscore them, the teams have been able to put points on. So teams that are high scoring, when that Liberty defense hasn't locked in, the game gets a little bit loose, high scoring, they tend to lose those. So I think this Connecticut Sun team can ride with them. So I'm not going to get into advanced stats and all that type of bullshit. I'm just telling you what I think. I think the Liberty smoke them. They get the win. They cover the 2.5 points. So that's the first play that I'm going to be taking on this day. Looking at the player props, I haven't looked into these too much. I'm not going to read too much into the numbers, to be honest, but let's just talk about what I like and the reasons why. So in this particular matchup, if I'm favoring the Liberty, I'm probably looking for an under for somebody on the Connecticut Sun. Probably someone with a high, someone like DeWanna Perhaps. Let's take a look at that. 17.5 points is what we see here. Now, she's cashed the under in 7 out of her last 10. 10 out of 21 games this season, she's hit the under. The last 2 games have been good. 24 against the Lynx, 23 against the Dream. Minutes, they're okay. Volume, not very high, 13.9 shot attempts per game. To the free throw line somewhat. Has been taking a lot of 3-pointers as of late, which is pretty wild. Her last game, 7 from 9 from deep, which is an absolute outlier. She managed to score all those points on only 11 shots. She's up against a Liberty team who is pretty good defensively, 3rd fewest points. If we look at how they defend positions, middle of the pack when it comes to limiting forwards. So I'd probably lean to the effort to DeWanna Bonner. Probably not the best player. I'm not overly excited about that. So what else could there be? There could be a fade here on Alyssa Thomas. Her rebounds and assist line usually quite high. So let's take a look at that. Her rebound line's at 9.5. She's hit the under in 7 of her last 10. This season, under in 12 out of 21 games. In head-to-head matchups, has rebounded well in the last 2 against the Liberty. Most recently, that game earlier this season, 12 rebounds against them. This Liberty team doesn't allow too many rebounds, but Alyssa Thomas has got it done against them. So I'd probably be a little cautious around that. Looking at her assist line, 7.5. So we were seeing lines at 6.5 not too long ago, but she has been diamond up as of late. But again, more difficult on this one. So the under 7.5 is a plus money play for Alyssa Thomas. If you look at the head-to-head data, she only had 7 assists against them last time, but historically has produced some pretty good assist numbers against the Liberty. So yeah, I probably have to put that. A lot of these games the Connecticut Sun did lose. but she still managed to rack up and get some stats on there. So yeah, probably be a little bit cautious around that. Maybe something to do with Alyssa Thomas points. Let's take a look at that real quick. I'm not man enough to fade her rebounds or assists, but let's look at her points. The line's at 12. You can probably get it at under 12.5 or 11.5. Looks like 11.5 to go. 5 out of her last 10. She's hit the under in 11 out of 21 games this season. When they last played, she only scored 10 points in 40 minutes. 5 from 11 from the field. Missed both of her free throws. So with 11 attempts, she can definitely go under. If you look at her averages throughout the season, 8.7 attempts is her average. So hasn't been scoring a whole lot and taking a whole lot either. 11 shots in that last game against the Liberty, a lot higher than her season average, but it's really dragged down by a lot of these games where she doesn't attempt too many shots. So yeah, I'm not sure if I take Alyssa Thomas on the unders there. The other person I'm about is Brionna Jones. Take a look at Brionna Jones. Her rebound line's only 4.5. If that was 5.5, I could probably look to an under there. Maybe even her points, 12.5 points for Brionna Jones. Where's she at? So she's 5 out of her last 10 to the under, 10 out of 21 games this season. Liberty, pretty good at defending bigs. They do have some size after all. She did score 13 points when they matched up earlier this season. So, again, that doesn't excite me either. Damn. I think the other way to look at this game is you could potentially look at some overs for the Liberty, if that's the way that I'm leaning, and I think they do well. If I'm thinking overs, Hamilton, I think she's really been producing as of late, so I do like what she's been doing, so let's talk about it. Her assist line's at 3.5. This Connecticut Sun team obviously doesn't give out too many assists, but she's cashed over in 8 of the last 10, 11 out of 19 games this season, so the recent form is great. Looking at the head-to-head numbers, she's had 3 consecutive games against the Connecticut Sun where she's gone over 3.5 assists. So, yeah, I don't mind this at all. Let's not overthink it. This Connecticut Sun team don't give up a whole lot of assists. I understand that. But when they matched up last time, it was a road game for the Liberty. They still managed to get the win, and Lainey Hamilton managed to get a whole lot of assists with 6. I just want to check to see if Vandersloot was playing in that game. So games with Vandersloot, and she wasn't. So there's no Vandersloot in that last one. These are her games with Vandersloot in the lineup. 3.4 is an average. 7 out of 13 this season. 4 out of her last 5 games. So, yeah, I probably lean to the over Lainey Hamilton, but I've got to be honest, I'm not absolutely loving it. Points line at 12.5. So her line in her last game was 11.5 against the Fever. Managed to score 20. Has a more difficult matchup here against the Connecticut Sun, and her line's moved up to 12.5. So if we look at the last time they played, she only scored 10 points in that game in 36 minutes, 4 from 8 from the field. If we look at her last 5 games to see what type of usage she's getting, averaging 10.6 attempts, 14 attempts in that last game against the Fever. But yeah, the matchup is a little tough. So I'm not sure if I've really taken over in this game. It could be a little bit gritty, a bit defensive. Jonquel Jones, we know that she can produce. And this rebound line could be a good one. I did cash on her rebound line not too long ago. So 9.5, her recent form is pretty good. She's covered this in 5 out of her last 10, but 5 out of her last 6, really. And if we look at the head-to-head numbers, she's cashed this in 6 out of her last 9 games against the Connecticut Sun. Only had 8 rebounds when matched up earlier this season. And what I've found is just because they went under last time doesn't mean we're going to see a repeat. That was in June, the start of June. And if you take a look at her numbers in the start of June, she actually went through a poor stretch there. We had 6 consecutive games where she had gone under the line and wasn't rebounding all too well. As of late, those rebound numbers are sky high. So I do like that. Jonquel Jones on her boards. So that's one that I'll probably be taking. Let's not overthink it. Fuck it. I'm telling you right now, I'm going to take it. Jonquel Jones over her rebounds. And I like the Liberty to cover. So I think those are the main ones that are standing out to me for this particular game. Sabrina, as much as I love her, matchup is difficult. Not overly keen on taking her, and I wasn't brave enough to take any unders for this Connecticut Sun. So let's take a look at the next game. It's the Dream versus the Sky. And I think if we look at these two teams, the Sky, I would say, are playing better basketball right now. Taking a look at the season, I lost my train of thought. Atlanta Dream versus Chicago Sky. Sky 6.5 point favorites in this game. Fair enough. The Dream, 4-game losing streak at the moment. They've lost 5 of their last 6 games on the road. Still battling some injuries. Chicago Sky, they split their last 8 games, so 4-4, it ain't too bad. They have lost 5 out of the last 7 games at home, but in saying that, this matchup is a lot easier than what we have been seeing. The Sky are the better team. They're healthier. They are at home. They deserve to be favorites in this game, and the Dream aren't playing very well, and the injuries keep piling up. But the Sky haven't necessarily played well at home, and they haven't covered the spread too well. It's the biggest number I think the Sky have seen all year as a favorite, 6.5 points. The Dream, they've actually played K on the road, believe it or not. They've split the last 2 meetings this season. So, yeah, I definitely think Sky win. I don't know if they can cover the 6.5 points, though, but I'm not saying I'm going to go bet the Dream. So I'll probably pass on picking a spread in this particular game. But let's have a quick look at these player props. I think the Dream can keep it close enough to keep a lot of these players on the court. Having a look to see what players are catching my interest here. And Alicia Gray, she's one that, we bet on a couple of games ago, and she cashed in for us. She's been playing quite well as of late. We do know that the Atlanta Dream still Ryan Howard. So Alicia Gray picking up the slack there. She's doing quite well, to be honest. Last game, she scored 19 points in 21 minutes against the Connecticut Sun. So 4 consecutive games, 4 out of her last 5. On the season, she's only 10 of 20 games if you're looking at a points prop. But if we check out how she's played without Ryan Howard this season, we can see there's been 7 games without her. She's cashed this line in 5 of them. She's averaging 17.8. So her ceiling isn't super high, but her cash in the over is definitely something that I would lean towards. So I don't mind that. If we look at the head-to-head matchups, 2 games against the Sky, 20 points and 19 points, both of those games without Ryan Howard. If we look at all games, 3 out of 6. But the 2 games without Ryan Howard, she's given him the business. Most recently, 19 points in that last matchup. That was a home game for her, though, so keep that in mind. One thing I like to check is just the road splits. She's averaging 16.5 on the road, and in all games this season, she's averaging 16.1. So if anything, we're seeing an uplift in her scoring when she's on the road. Her last 2 games are on the road, Dallas and Connecticut, and she managed to score 19 points in both of those games. It's a plus money play here for Alicia Gray, and you know how I feel about plus money. I eat that shit up. So that's probably one that I'm going to take. Let's not overthink this. Who's someone who's been real? Angel Reese. Rebound lines at 12.5, minus 135. I do not love that. In terms of rebounds, the Dream Team give up the most rebounds to forwards in the leagues. So that ain't good. She's cashed this line in 7 out of 10. Only 9 of 20 games, but as of late, her rebounding numbers have been crazy. Outlier stat, she's covered this in 7 out of her last 9. Her scoring numbers, her line's at 14.5, has put up some big games. This Dream Team give up a lot of points to forwards as well. So let's really keep that in mind. Last time they matched up, she did only score 12 points in 36 minutes. She was only 5 from 12 and 2 from 4 from the line. So she shot 42% from the field. On the season, she's shooting 42% from the field, but 75% from the free throw line. So she left a couple of points at the line, that's for sure. It has been quite some time since they did play, exactly a month. But I've seen Angel Reese really start to perform as of late. Her points plus rebounds doesn't look like such a bad play, 28.5. She's cashed that in 6 out of her last 7 games. And the matchup is great with the Dream, allowing the most points and the most rebounds to the forward position. So Angel Reese to go over her points and rebounds. I actually don't even think I can find that market now that I think about it. So it might have to be rebounds. It might be. I do like the points. I do like the rebounds. Damn. Could be a parlay for both. But points and rebounds, if you can find that, that's definitely a way that I'd be looking at. I might have to settle for a PRA. I know that I can get that on Bet365. So Angel Reese to cover her PRA, probably something that I'll be looking at. But I do like the points plus rebounds. We'll see what the assist line looks like. What other players do we like? Mabry, that's somebody I thought of. When I think about her, I think about the under. But her line's at 12.5 points. Line at one point in the season was 17.5, but as the season progresses, she happens to get worse. So 12.5, I'd lean to the under. But the Dream, mid-tier when it comes to defending guards. She's hit the under in 5 out of her last 6 games against Atlanta, which is interesting. She only scored 4 in their last game against them, but she only played 18 minutes. She normally plays at least 31. So that 18 minutes, a complete outlier for her. So I'm not putting too much stock into that, and I'm not willing to take the fade on her. No other players in this game really stand out to me. So we'll stick with Alicia Gray and Angel Reese. Now let's jump into the next one. We're looking at the Mystics versus the Fever. So I'm telling you right now, I'm not taking any unders on Caitlin Clark. Cooked me too many times. Well, not too many times. I think just twice, but the 2 times she did cook me, she had some massive games. So looking at these 2 teams, the Mystics, they're on the road against the Indiana Fever. The Mystics, they did lose to Washington. Sorry, they did just lose Minnesota. What am I talking about? And the Indiana Fever just beat the New York Liberty, which is pretty crazy. No one saw that one coming. If we think about how this one's going to go, the Fever are 5-point favorites, I believe. Let me double check that. 5-point favorites or 4.5, 6.5. Shit, that line's already started to move. So a lot of people taking the Fever. That line has started to move, so it might be a little bit too late to get on it. This Washington team dealing with a couple of injuries. Take a quick look at their injury report. Sykes, Samuelson, and Austin, whereas the Fever only missing Fag Benlay, but she's been out for a very long time. Sykes and Austin, I think they're 2 players that average double figures for this team. And they're going to be out playing quite well as of late. 6 wins out of their last 8 games, and they're flying high, especially after beating the Liberty. I don't think this is a letdown spot. I think they continue on this upward trend. Caitlin Clark continues to get better as well. So, yeah, probably going to have to side with when he's going at the moment. And even though it's at 6.5, it's honestly something I'd still feel comfortable taking. So I like the Fever in this game. And if I like the Fever in this game, let's look for a couple of unders for some of these Mystics. What a cool way I like to do it in Outliers if we just focus on the under and then really hone in on some of these Mystics players. It'll give us the best hit rates. So someone we could look at, I don't want to take Vandal assist because the Fever aren't necessarily the best defensively when it comes to slowing those things down. But I'm thinking of someone's rebound line perhaps. But I'm taking a look. There's not too many lines available for a lot of these Mystics. Hines Allen doesn't have lines. Dawson points and rebound lines are available. So let's take a look at her rebounds. 5.5. It's a plus money play to get her under 5.5 boards. She has been rebounding quite well lately. 11 to 21 games this season. 4 out of her last 10, she's hit the under. Last time she played the Fever, she had 6 and 7 boards. So in those games, the Fever still won. They won both of those games, but they were quite close, and Dawson did rebound quite well. So that's probably enough to scare me away from it. So I'll probably pass on the under there. I think for this type of game, we should see at least 160, 165 perhaps. The total points line is 168. So it's a pretty high-scoring game that they're expecting to see. So for a game like that, I think the overs are probably a better look. And if we're looking at the over, what I want to look at is probably some of the girls from the Fever because they, in my opinion, will be expected to win this. So Kelsey Mitchell, one of their more consistent players, as of late, not playing her absolute best, but for the most part, she's pretty reliable. 16.5 points, 6 out of her last 10, 12 out of 22 games this season. But you can see it on this graph here that she ain't too far away. So I think the way that I could even play this is to take the Fever to cover and maybe even add in Kelsey Mitchell for 10 to 15 points, get some plus money on that. Actually, I'm not going to do that. That's ridiculous. You could just ignore me. Don't listen to that. That's terrible advice. Let's have a look at Leah Boston. So Leah Boston, 7 out of her last 10. She's averaging 17.4. The line's at 14.4. Last time she played up against Mystics, 22 points. The game prior to that, 10 points, 36 minutes the last time. I only took 11 shots, but she did make 8 of them. She also got to the free throw line as well. So I don't mind Leah Boston to score some points here, but yeah, I'm not necessarily loving it. 8.5. She's only hitting 2 out of 6 against them. She went under in 2 games in a row against the Mystics, 6 and 8. And if we look at her more recent form, she's 2 out of her last 5, averaging 9.6. So we know that this Washington team, they don't allow too many rebounds to centers, but they do allow quite a bit to forwards and guards. So maybe Caitlin Clark, we could look at some overs for her. God damn, her assist line is at 8.5. Mucked around and got a triple-double, and look what happened. So she had 3 games in a row with more than 10 assists, which is pretty wild. This Washington team doesn't allow too many assists, though, so it might be a bit of a difficult look. They do allow some assists to centers, so Aaliyah Boston, we can probably look at that. But Caitlin Clark, let's focus on her for a moment. Her recent form with assists are through the roof. Her 2 games against Washington, she finished with only 6. 8.5 is a very high line, so I'm not interested in taking that. But if we check out her rebounds, 6.5 boards. She's only hit this in 4 out of her last 10, but she has rebounded extremely well against Washington. 8 and 12 boards for Caitlin Clark. So what I'm thinking here, I like the over in boards. Thanks to Outlier, we know that the Washington team, they do allow a lot of rebounds to guards. So Caitlin Clark rebounds, give me that. I'll have a taste. Quick look at her points line, 17.5. She's cashed this in both games against the Washington Mystics, 30 and 18 points. That's what you want to see. Volume not super high, but getting to the free throw line, making some 3-pointers as well. Her more recent form, she's only hit this in 1 of her last 5, though. I'd probably still lean to the over. She does get close to this line, so I do like her rebound line, but she does have a pretty good matchup for a point, so I wouldn't be too surprised to see her go over. I do like it, but I think I might just stick to the rebound line for Caitlin Clark. Outside of that, quick look at Aaliyah Boston. She doesn't even have an assist line, so I'm going to have to pass on that one. Let's not fuck around here for too long. We're going for low-hanging fruit. Whatever looks easy is what we're going to jump at. We're not overthinking shit today. Next, we have the Aces versus Seattle Storm. Now, this is going to be a good game to watch. Both of these teams are really starting to play well. The Aces look like they've got their defensive problems, and the Seattle Storm just playing a lot more consistently, to be honest. The Aces, 13-7 on the season. The Storm, 14-7. So these teams are 4th and 5th in the league. What's it like coming into the game? So the Aces, they just pump the wings. That's a pretty easy game. Seattle, they just beat the Chicago Sky 13 points. Las Vegas, they're missing Kearso, so one of the bigs is going to be out. Las Vegas, they're the best team in offense. Defense is still an opportunity for them, whereas Seattle, they're playing quite well on both sides of the court. They're a pretty deep team. If I look at the odds for this real quick, we can see that the Aces are 4.5 point favorites in this game. Whereas my casual opinion on this, I do like the Storm, not gonna lie. So I know the Aces, they do have the best offense in the W. They're averaging almost 90 points per game, which is pretty wild. And they're only allowing about 84, but both of those are quite high. The Aces, pretty poor at defending that 3-point line. So if the Storm can get their shooters to go off, then I think that makes me lean that way. The Storm, they're averaging 84 points per game, but they do have the 4th best defense. They're only allowing 78. They hold their opponents to 42% shooting, the 2nd lowest in the W. They've also covered the spread quite well as a late, 5 in its last 6. When these teams last played, I believe the Aces, they did cover, but that was a home game on the road. And on the road, Aces, they failed to cover the number in 3 out of the last 4. So, yeah, I'm probably going to lean to the 4.5 seems a lot. I feel like it needs to be closer than that. I'll probably lean, fuck it. Let's not overthink this. I can take the Seattle Storm to cover the 4.5 points at home. They're both playing well. 4.5 seems like a lot. So if I'm leaning towards the Storm and I like their defense, which means someone from this Aces team is going to slow down, and I'm probably thinking about fading Asia Wilson, believe it or not. 26.5 points is her line. Let's take a look. Now, her last few games, she's been great. 35 and 28 points, but that was against the Spark and the Wings. Those teams are ass. The Seattle team, probably not the best defending the bigs, believe it or not. Looking at how they played, 2 games already this season, she scored 29 and 27. I just feel like she can't continue that. So, but a lot of these numbers are intimidating me, not gonna lie. So I'm not going to take the under there. Kelsey Plum, I feel like she's been playing really well since Chelsea Gray's come back. She's not playing the point anymore, playing the 2, and she's been scoring quite well. This Seattle Storm team, pretty good at defending guards, though. So she's had 4 games over this. 4 games for 20-plus points for Kelsey Plum. She'd be getting buckets, free throws, 3-pointers, field goals, maybe cashing out. Head-to-head matchups, here we go. Under in 2 games against the Seattle Storm, 18 and 11 points for Kelsey Plum. So the question is, what do you think's more impactful here? The recent form, because she's been crushing it, or is it the head-to-head form where she struggled more recently against them? I'd probably lean to the under here for Kelsey Plum. I know that she's been playing quite well as a late. And it might be because Chelsea Gray's back, but it could also be because she's versus some pretty shit teams. So I'm probably leaning that way. I'm not sure if I can take that. One thing I'm thinking about is some outside shooting. I'm thinking about Jewel Lloyd, perhaps. Her point sign's at 20.5. She's only cashing 4 over the last 10. Last game against the Aces, she scored 1 point. Look at this, 0 from 9. That's crazy. And she made 1 free throw. It was at a tech foul. And the Aces did win that game. I think the Storm are going to be better for it, though, today. If we look at the Aces, not good at defending guards or forwards. Not really that good at defending anybody if you look at the season data. They are a little bit better as of late, though. So, Jewel Lloyd's points, I don't know if I could get there. Maybe her assists, 3.5. The odds are minus 150. So, yeah, I'd lean to the over for sure for assists for Jewel Lloyd in head-to-head matchup. She'd have 4 assists the last time they played, but she didn't play that well in that game. So, I think she'll be better for it. Over 3.5 is a nice look. Minus 150, though, not the odds that I'd like to take. Skylar Diggins, could there be an over for her? 13.5. She had a 6-game stretch of going under. Then she scored 15 against the Sky. When they matched up against the Aces this season, she scored 21 the first game and then 10 points the game after that. The volume, it's okay. Percentages aren't. Assists at 6.5. She had 7 and 6 in the 2 games against them. More recently, 5 out of the last 10. So I don't know if I can find a player prop, to be honest. Yeah, I don't think I can get on a player prop. It's not as straightforward as I would like it to be. I'm not seeing any holy trinities in the draft either. The holy trinities where we look at recent form, head-to-head form with the right matchup. I'm not seeing too much of that, to be honest. So probably not going to bet any player props for this Aces versus Storm game. I'm just going to take the Storm to cover the spread. And lastly, we're going to look at the Wings versus the Mercury. Now, the Mercury, high-scoring game, Dallas. I've been looking at the props. What am I thinking? Enrique probably scores a lot of points. And, yeah, someone from the Mercury probably scores points too. It should be high-scoring. Both of these teams pretty ass when it comes to defense. The difference there is the Mercury wins some games. So they're 11-10 this season. The Wings, 5-17. Having a quick look at the injury, see if anybody's missing. And there's quite a bit. Dallas still missing a whole lot of players. And the Mercury there, Rebecca Allen's game time, but Diana Taurasi is out. So Copper and Cloud probably could have some big scoring games here. I don't really like betting on Brittany Griner without DT in the lineup. What's the spread real quick? Spread for this is 7 points to the Mercury. It was at 8.5 at one point, though. So it's starting to move towards Dallas. So people taking Dallas at 8.5. It's now down to 7, the line. But I don't know if that's because of news or whatnot. So I don't know. It opened at 8.5. It's now at 7. But the Wings, terrible defensively. The Mercury, great offensively. So I'd probably be leaning to the overs, to be honest, if I had to take a bet, not necessarily betting on a side or total. I think a lot of points can be in this game. Total points lines at 173.5. So that'd be an interesting look. I want to check head-to-head numbers to see what they scored last time. So firstly on Enrique, 3 games against the Mercury this season, 40, 25, and 26. So without even looking at that data, my gut feel, my casual take was Enrique should score some buckets. And she's done that quite well this season. If we look at those previous scoring games, we've got, it's hit the over in every single game. All 3 games these teams have played, it's cashed the over 173. So that's one way that I'm looking at it, and I'm not overthinking it. That's the way that I want to go. I'm going to quick look at Enrique because there's going to be a lot of assists and a lot of points. I think the pace should be pretty fast in this one. She's rebounded well against the Mercury as well. Mercury, not great rebounders, especially giving it up to guards. Recent form for rebounds ain't too bad. Recent form for assists ain't the best. So probably points plus rebounds. She hasn't been scoring too well, but this matchup suits. So if you look at points plus rebounds, and we look at the head-to-head stuff, check it out. 4 consecutive games against the Mercury. She's covered her points line and her rebounds line. And if you're talking about matchup, probably the rebounds makes the most sense. But that's not all too exciting, is it? 5.5 boards. It's a plus money play. I might say, fuck it. Let's look at some rebounds here. I want to see a lot of pace, a lot of volume in this game. Give Enrique some chances to get some. But I do like the over 173.5. If we're looking at the total points, the Mercury win, but the Dallas Wings might keep it close. But I think the best bet I can make in terms of sides and totals is to take the over. So if we think there's going to be a lot of points in this one, that means Clear Copper could definitely score some points. We're talking about Natasha Cloud could rack up some assists. But let's take a look at this. So games against the Dallas Wings this season, Copper scored 23.5 plus in all of them. 32, 29, and 34, which is just wild. This season, you'd look at these numbers and like, this girl's inconsistent, right? Only 9 out of games, but she averages 22.5. She's got lows of 7. She scored less than 10 points 3 times, but she scored more than 30 points 6 times. So she can definitely get after it. If we take a look at the games she's played without Gianna Taurasi, now it's only been 2 games. She scored 21 on Connecticut, 25 against the Spark. So at 23.5, I do like the over here for Clear Copper. What's also enticing is this head-to-head, especially this season. These 3 games, 32, 29, and 34. It's undeniable. The Wings giving up a whole lot of points. Not good at defending guards, forwards, or centers, to be honest. So Copper is definitely one way I'd be leaning for sure. Let me put that down. I think I like that more than the Enrique bet, to be honest. Not going to lie to you, but I think Enrique can fill up the state, that's for sure. But let's not, I don't want to overdo it. I probably want to pick a side or a total if I can. And then the player props, I'll take whichever one stands out to me. So Clear Copper, that's definitely standing out to me. I want to have a look at Natasha Cloud and her assists. 6.5 assists up against the Wings team, who allows the most assists and the most assists to guards. And you can see it here, Natasha Cloud, 12, 7, and 10. She's covered this assist line in all 3 games against Dallas this season. And if we take a look at her games without DT, 10 assists against the Sun and only 5 assists against the Spark. But what happened? Did she score a lot of points in that game? Yep. 31 points she scored, which is a massive outlier. But she scored 18 and 31 points when Diana's out of the lineup. So that could be a good look too. So the 18 and the 31, both of those were recent games as well. So Natasha Cloud, probably be looking at points plus assists then, if that's the case. She does have a good matchup for both. The problem here is in head-to-head against Dallas, a lot of the damage has been done passing the ball, 12, 7, and 10 assists. So I know Diana's not there, but Natasha Cloud to go over assists, definitely the way that I'm thinking at the moment. She's hit this in 4 out of her last 5. I'd say the 31 points against the Spark is the massive outlier. And I don't mind this play for Natasha Cloud. It correlates well with the Clear Copper look. So I'll probably take those 2, and I won't take Enrique as much as I want to. I think we've got better correlation. So I might the overs, Copper points, Natasha Cloud assists. Don't necessarily want to play anything on rebounds for this game. There's going to be a lot of points. But if we're looking at rebounds, I'm probably someone like Natasha Howard. Rocks or diamonds. She can have some big games. Also, she can have some terrible ones too. Played 1 game against the Mercury. She had 11 boards in that game. That was actually recently, so less than a week ago. She had 11 rebounds against them. On the season, she's only hit this in for the last 10, though. One thing that could keep her out there is that they do need some size, and this Mercury team, not very good at rebounding at all, but where they are terrible at rebounding. So the Enrique rebounds is probably the best look. If you're going to bet rebounds for Dallas, I'd probably be thinking Enrique. Another thing that's going through my mind at the moment, we could do a bitch-ass parlay here, and I'll probably... yeah, fuck it. Let's do it. A bitch ass parlay. Dallas Wings versus Mercury. This is what I'm thinking right now. I'm going to make it real quick. Copper for 20 points. I do like her over, and I'll probably still take that as a single bet. But if you want some parlays, let's play. Rebounds, we take Enrique Ogunbowale for 5. Her line's at 5.5. Let's take her for 5. And then we look at assists, and we take Natasha Cloud for 5 assists as well. You put those 3 together, you're getting plus 140. So that's a beautiful bitch ass parlay. Taking some of the lines that we do like, which I'll take as straight bets, reducing them down for a little bit of safety. Why the hell not? So there's a little bit of a BAP to finish things up. I will leave my final picks in the comment section below in the comment. But for those of you who follow me on Winnable, you'll also get notified for that. It is a different strategy, so I'd love to know what you guys think. Haven't overthought it, haven't smashed with data. I've managed to review 5 games in less than 40 minutes. Still got a very similar number of volume of bets on. Make some profit today. It's something that you can expect to see more of. So it's a more of a casual approach. Hope you guys appreciate it. If you do, throw some support my way. Like the video, sub to the channel if you haven't. And if you're looking for some daily fantasy apps with deposit matches and bonuses and offers and signups, check out the video link below. Rebet, Chalkboard, and Dabble Fantasy. All my partners, use the code DARK when you sign up, and they'll be hooking you up. So I'll catch you guys in the next one. Best of luck. Peace.